It's an industry that once was a big money maker for practitioners and the country. Persons coming from near and far just to witness the sounds and sights of Bahamian music. But over the years, the industry experienced a decline. While the artists increased, the struggle became real. Tonight, a candid discussion on the Bahamian music industry. Beyond the Headlines starts now. Bahamian musicians and entertainers are trying to rebuild what used to be a lucrative industry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clint Watson, and welcome to the show. Well, it's been the topic of discussion for many years, but there have been no clear answers. Why does it appear difficult for Bahamian musicians and entertainers to survive and make a living in their craft? When we look back in the 50s and 60s, it was a much sought after and lucrative industry. In fact, many of the big names joined the scores of tourists that would visit the Bahamas just to witness performances. But times have changed. Annika Archer talks to several outstanding Bahamian men who made it their mandate to keep Bahamian music alive. Take a look.
There were no clubs. Bahamians made their own clubs. They created clubs all over this place because there was so much music in the Bahamas in the 60s.
Broadcasting provided the means for Charles Carter to be able to explore the entertainment industry in the Bahamas. And during a time when many Bahamians did not have a television in their home, they found creative ways to have fun.
We entertained ourselves. And the way to do that was to open a club. And we opened a lot of clubs. And what I used to do, my first exciting piece of work in broadcasting was called The Young Bahamian Show. And that was done on Friday afternoons at the old Cat and Fiddle that Freddie Munnings used to have on Nassau Street.
Using only a single tape recorder, Sir Charles in his 20s was able to capture musicians, singers, and other entertainers of that day. Now, during the 50s, Sir Charles also started a radio program for young Bahamians.
I used to have matinees, and I used to record them, and I used to put them on the radio on Saturday. It was called The Young Bahamian Show. There was no show. There was nothing there for young Bahamians. But there was this new music coming in. That music that started actually in 1958.
During the 60s, the Bahamian music scene carved their own path for creative expressions, and nightclubs was the new trend as musicians became business owners. Bahamian music gained popularity not just locally, but internationally, and musicians were able to make a steady income.
Music migrated outside of the Bahamas. And indeed, Bahamians made music that was heard around the world. And these programs that I created at that time really brought it all to life and put it into a state where we can now remember it. And then the clubs really got big, and it became a part of the big business.
Veteran musician, singer, mentor, and teacher Duke Errol Strawn lived through the era of when the Bahamian music scene was booming. The Zanzibar, the Silver Slipper, the Cat and the Fiddle, and countless of entertainment clubs made it easy for Bahamians and foreigners alike to pick, choose, and refuse which venue they patronize.
The glory days, because music was in the air everywhere. Musician was working everywhere.
And what was the pay like for musicians?
The pay, well, to compare today, if you look at the pay then you probably wouldn't understand it, because the pay then fit the time.
Strawn introduces the thought that politics had much to do with the entertainers' success and decline.
The UBP had music at heart, had entertainers at heart, musicians at heart. They did a lot to enhance that. And in my view, that all changed when the government changed.
According to Strawn, King Eric Gibson's nightclub, King and Knights, was the last club to have anything to do with tourism and eventually closed down due to the cruise ships. Eyewitness News spoke with original Bahamian member Fred Ferguson, and he shared with us his past successes as a musician and current challenges in the Bahamas' entertainment industry.
I was able to make a decent living. From that, there were also shows everywhere, native shows and, floor shows. Now there's not a native show in the country.
Politics permeates the entertainment industry, and some may feel is the cause of decline in promotions for Bahamian entertainers.
Entertainment is not an important thing to any of the governing bodies that we've had. Asked me earlier, the Cat and Fiddle and the Zanzibar and all those things, they were prevalent under the UBP. Now, black majority rule took over. And when you fetch a bicycle for a while, it's going to stop moving. And then the F&M came and they didn't pedal. And the PLP came again. And so now we've stopped.
Times have changed, and so has the viability of making a living in the entertainment field. For Eyewitness News, I'm Anike Archer.
Well, please welcome my guest tonight. He is a musical historian, Ronald Sims, musicians Fred Ferguson, Sila Poitier, and Kevin Dean. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Great to have you all.
Good evening.
I feel so special to have all of this great music. I just feel like we can just break out into song and dance and just let everybody hear. But let me first of all congratulate all of you for the work that you've done in paving Bahamian music and really taking it to the next level. Our country is better because of it. But this conversation, we sadly have to have this conversation so far in the game of what we do as music in the industry. We're now, instead of talking about going to the next level, still trying to discuss how we can make this become sustained. What happened? I always hear people talk about back in the days, people would come to these famous clubs and they would pay big money to see the Bahamian artists. Artists were performing every night. I mean, in sometimes 3 and 4 venues just because of the demand. What happened to that till now where we have artists sitting home and can't get a job?
Yep. Well, Ronald,
well, Quinn, let me thank you for the new title of historian and another title to my resume. Well, a couple of things happened. And we have to appreciate a couple of things that were not in place back then in what we call the glory days of Bahamian entertainment. During those times, the hotel industry was seasonal for one. Mm-hmm. They opened only in the winter, November through April, okay? And so there were a lot of neighborhood nightclubs, locally owned institutions, Cat and Fiddle, Zanzibar, Silver Slipper, Club Blue Note, Flowers, you name them, they were all over the place, Jungle Club, everywhere there was entertainment. And so the hotels, even though they were open from November to April, they closed after dinner seating. So by 10, 11 o'clock, those hotels were dark. So the guests had to spill out into the communities for entertainment. In addition to that, cruise ships coming to the islands, 3 miles out of port, they had to shut down all of their operations, their casinos, their restaurants, their bars. So the passengers on those cruise ships had to spill out into the island to eat, to be entertained. And then the hotels came. They became year-round operations. The same musicians that were in those Zanzibars and Cat and Fiddles moved into the hotels, and the hotels, of course, made them offers they couldn't refuse, better working conditions, better salary, blah, 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 blah. And then to put the nail in the coffin, the government opened up the cruise business to open their bars and restaurants in port. That was the final nail in the coffin for the death of the industry as we know it today.
Wow. Is there the ability to still get back in this game and allow our musicians, particularly those who are around today and want to find work, to be able to make this sustainable?
Well, I came into business later than Ronald, and so my history is not as deep as his, but I did come in at a time at the crossroads when the industry was still viable. Because I came in when Sandals now used to be Balmoral, and Breezes used to be the Ambassador, the Ambassador Club.
Ambassador,
so we even had a Playboy Club, girls with the bunny tails and all that.
Oh, Lord, wow.
And so I came in at the time when all of those things were still there, and entertainment still meant something. meaning that I've never seen the Cat and Fiddle, so that shows you my crossroad. But bands were recognized for their talents, first of all. They were given the respect. We were able to eat in the hotels wherever we wanted. We signed checks. Every band had a room in the hotel that they worked.
Wow.
So this was what I came into. Now, what made us what we were was the respect for the craft. Even though, you know, people call us musicians or whatever, but we respected the craft, we practiced, we got our acts together. Nowadays, we have instant superstars. You get into a little closet with a computer and you expect to get that same treatment that we got then. It didn't work. You had to earn your way in. Bands wouldn't let you in, hotel owners or club owners wouldn't let you in to play into their clubs unless you were at a certain standard. Nowadays, anything goes. And so the industry cannot grow until we take it back to basics. And that, I think, that is what's holding us back today.
Let me ask you, Celia, because you're one of our younger musicians who actually took this on as a profession. You went, studied music, came back with a perfection on an instrument that most people don't know. If you see her play the bass, it's amazing. But yet, are you able to find a place for yourself in your own country and sustain by doing what it is that you studied?
No. Well, upon returning home, a very notable musician and cultural icon, he actually told me that nobody in this country really cares about your talent. It's all about business. And that's ironic because in his time, it was actually all about mastering your craft, and it was all about your talent, and it wasn't about how easily one can take advantage of you or make money off of you as long as you don't speak up for yourself and speak up for the rights of other musicians as it relates to how they're being treated working for these people. And you know, back in the day, like he spoke about, you had the Maureen Duvalier, you had Eloise Lewis, you had George Simonette, you had Charlie Adamson, you had all these people considered legends in our country today. But politicians and even some musicians of yesteryear like to pretend as if they don't know the reason why the Bahamas has the brand that it has today. The Bahamas, why it's such a brand name, is solely, or was solely, because of the contributions that musicians and artisans made. But they also had a government and a Ministry of Tourism that made it their prerogative to put them at the forefront. So they had an international platform to be showcased all around the world. And people didn't come here just for sun, sand, and sea. A lot of tropical islands already have sun, sand, and sea. The Jamaica, the Cuba, Brazil, everybody. Now Florida, you can go right to Florida.
Exactly.
But what put us on the map was a platform for us to be able to showcase our talents to the world, and we need that to return without any political bias, because the reason why it is the way it is today, single-handedly, it was destroyed by the politicians. A lot of people don't like to say it, but it's the truth. Yes.
Dean, what say you about the industry and where we are now?
The industry, it has been in a decline for decades. I think technology, education, exposure, all these different factors kind of came together, and it's been slowly dwindling down to minimal, like hotels. They want smaller bands. There's no casino shows anymore. There's no venues to display the musical talent. And it's economics, and sometimes I say this to my friends that the tourism industry might be stifling our culture in a way.
Good point. Good point. Good point.
Agreed 100%.
That's actually a very powerful point.
Yeah.
Because
that's loaded.
we are more into the numbers that we get onshore via the cruise ships, via the hotels, than we are into causing those people who visit to have a Bahamian experience.
But I think it's more. I think it's a little bit deeper than that, because if you look at the songs we write, it's all geared towards tourists.
Yeah.
The tourism industry is part of the death of this industry. Everything is come to the Bahamas, we are beautiful. We listen to the songs that we write.
And we're killing it.
And it's all towards tourism. And so that point is very, very
We're going to talk
valid.
more about that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about that. What we thought would be the industry to uplift and to expand is in the musician industry. It's actually killing it. We'll talk about it when we come back. Stay close to watching Beyond the Headlines.
Are you ready? Shell is taking you on an exciting journey with its summer promotion. Now through September 14th, enter to win and drive away in a 2018 Toyota Yaris. That's right, just make a minimum fuel purchase of $20 at any Shell service station in Nassau. Answer the skill question on the entry form and submit. Grand prize will be drawn on September 14th. Other fabulous weekly prizes include free fuel vouchers and VIP packages to go see Jay-Z and Beyonce live at the Hard Rock Stadium, Miami. Fill up with Shell and enter to win. Visit Sun Oil Limited on Facebook for details.
If you thought Crack the Code was crazy, Island Luck has just upped the ante with Break the Bank. And if you can guess the correct combination for the bank and break it, you can win up to $500,000. That's right, $500,000 can be yours. The game is simple. Earn 10 rewards points in a day or play $30 on a ticket and earn a promo point or voucher code. And take your shot at breaking the bank by entering a 7-digit number at level 1 using the digits 0 through 9. And if you break it, you can walk away with $500,000 in cold, hard cash. If no one breaks the bank in 3 days, the first digit of the bank's combination is revealed, and then the bank's vault drops to $100,000 at level 2. And if in another 3 days no one breaks the bank's combination, another digit is revealed, and it drops to $25,000 at level 3, and so on. For game rules and how to play, log on to islandluck.com. Can you break the bank? $500,000 can be yours. Promotion ends August 31st. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so game responsibly.
Welcome back. We're having a candid discussion on the music industry in the Bahamas, the Bahamian music industry. Where has it gone? Why has it died out? When we hear about these great stories in the past, and now we're seeing so many Bahamian musicians struggling. And of course, we have some great people here who could talk to us about it. Ronald Sims, Fred Ferguson, Sila Poitier, and Kevin Dean. Before we went to a break, Kevin Dean, you dropped a loaded statement on us, attributing the death of this industry to tourism. And I wanted to expand more on that because people feel as if the tourism industry is a platform for entertainers and musicians. But we're seeing, I don't know if we can call it too much of a compromise with tourist operators on what they want or what they don't want to spend, and we're just compromising with them to say they're existing here, but we're killing our own.
Exactly. We are folding to the market demands, I guess. There's a supply and demand. They want us to supply this kind of entertainment. Therefore, we focus on supplying that kind of entertainment and not focusing on developing our own culture and, building our own brand, as they would say now, in the millennials. I mean, that market side is only, I think, a small aspect of the entirety, because there's also other aspects like education, like music education is dwindled down to they want a choir, they want, as a music teacher, you play piano.
Or horn player for John Canoe.
Or the horn player for John Canoe.
That's another show we got to do.
Everything's being limited due to, I guess, the market demand, and we're not paying attention or appreciating the actual art that used to happen with creative souls like ourselves and creative people.
And I want to go back to the point Kevin is on. When you talk about tourism playing a major role in the decline of the industry, there was a time when the native shows were the thing in this country, the drum beat, the king and knights. I mean, there were shows all over the place. But then the cruise ships who supplied the passengers for those shows started making demands. It became business to them, how much they could get out of a head.
Right.
They want to buy the show for you, let's say $10, but they're selling it on board for $50. Right? They want to determine the time of your show. You've got all the expenses, and the cruise ships are making all the money. Then there were the cab drivers on top of that had to get $1 a head and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so the shows became prohibitive for the operators to put on. Because they were presenting, but they were not making any money.
But also the musicians were at fault too. We have a big part to play in this because we got nasty and lousy and come into work late and want to be drunk on the job and fight the the club owner and talk rude to the tourists. So all these parts together make up a whole. Of course, Ronald is absolutely correct because we've both owned clubs, we've worked in clubs where cab drivers will say, we'll bring you these people on top of each head for the fares they got. We, the clubs, had to pay them on top of that.
Wow.
So, so they got, say, $5 a head, plus the club gave them $2 for every person that they brought. So all of these things add up to the decline. Of course, there's the artistic side and the tourism side, but then we, the artists, too, got to take responsibility for some of the decline that's going on.
Should we not, as a country, have a location, theater or whatever, or a production house, that we continuously run Bahamian entertainment and shows on regularly? For example, let's say Wednesday nights, I can go and see Sila and jazz, Bahamian jazz, whatever. Thursday night, I can go and get the Gumbe or Calypso groups. Monday night, Sunday nights, I can get gospel. Should we have something where we can
talk about this from her perspective, but just look at our National Arts Center and that answers your question. We have a Shirley Street Theater.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get there, where's the national cultural policy?
Yeah.
True.
Let's speak to this.
Yeah, so, I mean, the main things that we know, listen, all of our ministers have traveled around the world and seen what happens in these different places. And the definition of tourism is people visiting another country to experience another culture. So when I go to Miami, I'm a tourist, even though I take it for granted I go there so often.
Right.
But I am a tourist there. When I go to their clubs and listen to their artists, I'm enjoying their culture. It should be the exact same thing that happens here.
When I look at the fact that I just came back from New York, you go to New York, people go to New York to do what when they go to Manhattan? They want to see the shows, the Broadway. And those things are sold out year-round, every night, sometimes 2 shows a night, because people want, and they spend up $250, $350 for a ticket, one ticket, because they want to experience going to you have not been to New York until you've seen a Broadway show.
That's right.
So why would not, and most of our tourists are high-end tourists, they spend a lot of money coming to the destination. Would they not spend at least $50 to $100 to see a Bahamian authentic show? And the hotels will be happy to dish those tickets out. There's some place for you to go.
But we shut down Bay Street at sunset and we pee on the street.
I'd also like to say there are two major showrooms that exist now on this island and Paradise Island, and they are empty. There's no Bahamian entertainment like production where involves multiple entertainment musicians, dancers, comedians, magicians. Those shows have totally disappeared.
Why?
That's a very good question.
But you don't even have to go that far as the showrooms. The hotels in this country used to be littered with native bands, trios, quartets,
everywhere you go. Everywhere you go.
Music.
They still have those in a certain sense.
Where?
You walk through Atlantis, you see a two-piece
Marina
band.
Village, you see some singers.
Maybe out on the beach.
There'd be scrap in comparison to what we're talking about.
And for the most part, they're playing international music. They're not playing indigenous music.
True, very true. That's true.
Nassau Beach used to have like 4 bands upstairs there. Down in the thing with the rotating bar thing outside by the pool. Ambassador Beach, the exact same thing. Balmoral Beach. So what you're saying is what we're talking about now in comparison is scrap.
And a lot of the groups and bands that are playing in these resorts, I'm not knocking anybody, but a lot of them are not your main headliners that you would know, because these people don't want to pay that. They want to find let me find a group who can play the same kind of thing, and I can get them for half the price.
Now you're coming to the point I said earlier.
So they try to they get these knockoff people.
The artist is part of the problem because we also undercut each other. We undercut each other because if I go there and say, and let's say I am the qualified one, I'll do it for 300. The unqualified person say I'll do it for 50, or the police band. Military band, so y'all see me?
Another part of the problem.
That's the problem.
For the most part, the artists practicing today, young and old, do not appreciate the art of entertainment.
Yes.
They're lacking in what it means to entertain people from different walks of life, from different nationalities. They don't know how to relate to them.
And I think that's because they don't spend enough time studying their craft.
Absolutely.
They just figured, I have a bit of talent, let me just go make some money off of it, and let me play. And it ends up hurting the industry. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're wrapping up. When we come back, what is the solution? We're going to put some solutions out there. Not that we haven't done it before, but we're going to do it again. and hopefully, maybe this will be the time it clicks to somebody right there. Stay close. We'll be back to wrap up.
Eyewitness News is the only news product to give you 30 minutes of more.
more objectivity and less bias.
Expect more stories from unsung heroes who sacrifice daily.
Expect a live product because we live in a live environment.
And more reporting on the stories that make our nation great.
Eyewitness News, always a headline ahead.
Am I your leader?
Yes, you are.
God save the Queen. God save the Queen, my Negro brother. These are big, black, stupid men. What is wrong with me saying that? Booyaka. So I may have to go into another trance. Give me some drums. Hungaya. Hungaya.
Hi, Miss Wonka.
Hey, is this the baby there?
Yeah.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up a very informative discussion today, talking about the Bahamian music industry, the fact that it's been dying. Well, before we wrap up, how do we resurrect this? Can we revive this industry to a place where it becomes a place where people can sustain themselves in this career? Do you believe that can happen?
All things are possible with the will. All things are possible.
True.
You have to be able to do. You have to have the will to do it. There are persons like myself and Ronald who have tried to our last penny to run establishments, to hire musicians. The road is too rough to make it happen. The red tape. You know, you cannot bring an instrument in here unless you buy 3 of them now, because including the new VAT.
Wow.
The cost of it with the duty and the VAT. The deposit to get a light turn on in a club is twice the highest bill of the previous owner.
That's crazy.
You know, so those of us...
general access to capital. You cannot
access
finance
capital.
a nightclub, a restaurant, a gas station in this country. The banks will refuse you finance. Their policy is that they don't finance those kinds of
So the will.
Wow.
Without the will by the leaders to see the importance, right now we don't even train musicians. Celia is a graduate of the University of the Bahamas. They don't really train you in the art of music. They're training teachers to teach music.
That's very true.
So it's a circle.
It's very true.
There's always this focus on, but what can they do for us and how can they make it easier for us? But there is a huge underground movement of young Bahamians who are actually doing it without the help of the clubs and the big hoteliers and all those big venues. There's an underground movement that when people like myself and Sylvie go off to school and we see these things happening, and we learn and we get educated and we come back and then we see how things are actually happening here and they're not quite up to standards. So we get together underground and eventually, hopefully, that underground will bubble up.
After the gaming industry, so why can't it happen?
Exactly.
It can happen for music, and I think that there. I think is a good solution. The fact that people just got to begin doing it
and the church,
begin supporting it.
The church too.
Of course, of course. I mean, I have all people know having a gospel group. You got when it comes to the church world, you better do it for love of country. Because the minute you charge, you're blaspheming against God. How do you charge? But we've had to, for my group, we've had to make our ability to pay bills through doing work for the other market, the tourism market, for the cultural market, out of the country. We travel a lot just to be able to sustain our bills because people appreciate it there rather than they appreciate it here.
No question.
And we had a very good run starting out last year. It started out doing the Christmas, doing music for Atlantis. They got 2 the gospel groups, and we were rotating week after week, and that was so sustainable. Yes. And then Atlantis changed executive management, and they just stopped the whole thing, and it went out the window. And here was with 2 gospel groups who were able to now be able to do some things because they were working and doing gospel music and doing Christmas music, and then management changed, and instead of, because it was not an informed policy, going back to policy again, the company could decide we're not going to do it, we'll just go away with it, rather than there being policy. Do we need policy? And this is where I think government should come in. That informs and says to all of these hotel owners and other people that you have to implore X amount of culture in what you do. You're going to be in our country. You got to do it.
That's been a position we've been putting on the table over the years. When you get into these heads of agreements and you're giving away half of the country in concessions, then there's got to be some stipulation in these agreements that you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z is going to hire Kevin, is going to hire Sheila, is going to hire Fred, is going to hire indigenous Bahamian forms of entertainment.
Yeah. No,
and unless we do that, it's not going to happen.
I totally agree. We need that informed because we always see these agreements that you know they're going to donate a 1.7 million a year to charity. Well, what we need you to do is instead of giving it to charity, put some Bahamians to work. Let our culture grow it, and at the end of the day, you still reap the reward from it as a hotel.
Yes.
You still benefit because when you hire these people, you're going to cause your visitors to grow because people are going to come to the country and it's going to grow.
But then, when you say policy, the cultural policy has to go across the political divide because what we've been doing is changing it every 5 years.
Yeah.
When the PLB wins, they bring something,
There you
them
go.
come in and say it can't happen. This is what happened next. And so the policy has to be, we have to determine that this is what's going to happen for entertainment in the next 10 years.
Yes.
No matter who comes into power.
Yeah.
And allow it to grow. Otherwise, we've been going like 10 steps forward, 15 steps backwards.
Good food for thought. Listen, thank you all for joining me today and bringing some information to our people and bringing this conversation back into the public domain. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see some change.
Well,
Thank you all.
You're a musician, you understand.
Exactly,
this very
I know it all too well. That's our show. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here on our next show. Until then, I'm Clint Watson. Have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday.
If you thought Crack the Code was crazy, Island Luck has just upped the ante with Break the Bank. And if you can guess the correct combination for the bank and break it, you can win up to $500,000. That's right, $500,000 can be yours. The game is simple. Earn 10 rewards points in a day or play $30 on a ticket and earn a promo point or voucher code. And take your shot at breaking the bank by entering a 7-digit number at level 1 using the digits 0 through 9. And if you break it, you can walk away with $500,000 in cold, hard cash. If no one breaks the bank in 3 days, the first digit of the bank's combination is revealed, and then the bank's vault drops to $100,000 at level 2. And if in another 3 days no one breaks the bank's combination, another digit is revealed, and it drops to $25,000 at level 3, and so on. For game rules and how to play, log on to islandluck.com. Can you break the bank? $500,000 can be yours. Promotion ends August 31st. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so game responsibly.
There were no clubs. Bahamians made their own clubs. They created clubs all over this place because there was so much music in the Bahamas in the 60s.
Broadcasting provided the means for Charles Carter to be able to explore the entertainment industry in the Bahamas. And during a time when many Bahamians did not have a television in their home, they found creative ways to have fun.
We entertained ourselves. And the way to do that was to open a club. And we opened a lot of clubs. And what I used to do, my first exciting piece of work in broadcasting was called The Young Bahamian Show. And that was done on Friday afternoons at the old Cat and Fiddle that Freddie Munnings used to have on Nassau Street.
Using only a single tape recorder, Sir Charles in his 20s was able to capture musicians, singers, and other entertainers of that day. Now, during the 50s, Sir Charles also started a radio program for young Bahamians.
I used to have matinees, and I used to record them, and I used to put them on the radio on Saturday. It was called The Young Bahamian Show. There was no show. There was nothing there for young Bahamians. But there was this new music coming in. That music that started actually in 1958.
During the 60s, the Bahamian music scene carved their own path for creative expressions, and nightclubs was the new trend as musicians became business owners. Bahamian music gained popularity not just locally, but internationally, and musicians were able to make a steady income.
Music migrated outside of the Bahamas. And indeed, Bahamians made music that was heard around the world. And these programs that I created at that time really brought it all to life and put it into a state where we can now remember it. And then the clubs really got big, and it became a part of the big business.
Veteran musician, singer, mentor, and teacher Duke Errol Strawn lived through the era of when the Bahamian music scene was booming. The Zanzibar, the Silver Slipper, the Cat and the Fiddle, and countless of entertainment clubs made it easy for Bahamians and foreigners alike to pick, choose, and refuse which venue they patronize.
The glory days, because music was in the air everywhere. musician was working everywhere.
And what was the pay like for musicians?
The pay, well, to compare today, if you look at the pay then you probably wouldn't understand it because the pay then fit the time.
Strawn introduces the thought that politics had much to do with the entertainers' success and decline.
The UBP had music at heart, had entertainers at heart, musicians at heart. They did a lot to enhance that. And in my view, that all changed when the government changed.
According to Strawn, King Eric Gibson's nightclub, King and Knights, was the last club to have anything to do with tourism and eventually closed down due to the cruise ships. Eyewitness News spoke with original Bahamian member Fred Ferguson, and he shared with us his past successes as a musician and current challenges in the Bahamas' entertainment industry.
I was able to make a decent living. From that, there were also shows everywhere, native shows and, floor shows. Now there's not a native show in the country.
Politics permeates the entertainment industry, and some may feel is the cause of decline in promotions for Bahamian entertainers.
Entertainment is not an important thing to any of the governing bodies that we have had. Asked me earlier, the Cat and Fiddle and the Zanzibar and all those things, they were prevalent under the UBP. Now, black majority rule took over. And when you fetch a bicycle for a while, it's going to stop moving. And then the F&M came and they didn't pedal. And the PLP came again. And so now we've stopped.
Times have changed, and so has the viability of making a living in the entertainment field. Reporting for Beyond the Headlines, I'm Anike Archer.